Thanks everybody for joining us for a cybersecurity services overview of what happens here at onShore when you engage with us. Today we're going to go through a really quick rundown on onShore's new cybersecurity leadership services and kind of what that means if you engage onShore for cybersecurity leadership. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we have sort of four major areas that is covered under our onshore cybersecurity leadership, if you will. And I'm going to just kind of break it down. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on each module. And then the last one, yes, I actually did count this out. The last one, Panoptic Security Management, is really the background on onshore. It is the area that we have been the strongest over the last couple of years, and in the last year, we added on these other four categories that fall underneath our cybersecurity leadership. So we've got Cybersecurity Maturity. This is going to get into our overview on how we do sort of a measurement on the business maturity at the business level. The second one is going to get into the ops or operational security capability, and this gets into a view of the infrastructure. And then we have the third one, which is the area that I spend a lot of time myself on, which is the governance, risk, and compliance, really helping you with areas like regulatory requirements as it pertains to things like FFIEC, NIST 171, etc. Then we have the virtual CISO as a service. We use that to kind of summarize it. It's really much bigger than that. So if you're struggling with being the CISO, or you've recently been named the Information Security Officer, this will be an area that will go into deeper, detail. And then, of course, Panoptic Security Management. So let's go into what does that look like. So first and foremost, when we work with any new opportunity, and in some cases even with our existing opportunities, I like to take them through what we call a security function maturity. Taking the NIST domains and going, where are we at as an organization, and being able to measure our current maturity level and then look at what are the goals for the organization. How do we get from, say, a level 1 to a level 2? More importantly, to understand that we're not going to just jump from a level 1 to a level 5 overnight. It requires work. It requires, both our services and working with a client to get to those levels and to do it one step at a time. And then realistically, what does that look like for your organization from a lift standpoint? How much of this can you take on your own versus how much of this work are we going to do for you? And that takes us into the second component, which is really about us doing some assessing on your infrastructure. We've talked about, business maturity in the first one, and that really highlights the belief system around where the organization as a whole and the consensus as a whole on where they believe they are at as an organization. And then this section is where we're going to go in and do a look ourselves. We're going to look at where you are as an organization from what we see when we look at your infrastructure. Is patching being done? Are GPOs set up properly? Do you provide password management and some things like that? So we'll look at those things as well. And this is really a big part of what we do for both an onboarding of a new client who is taking on our managed services for security services. It also gets into maybe that you're just looking to have a reality check. It's kind of like going into the drugstore and getting the cuff put on your arm and find out what your blood pressure really is. So then we get into our governance, risk, and compliance. And this is an area that I really never thought I would say I enjoy doing, but the reality is this is where I get to spend a lot of my time in working with organizations like yours. An article was recently published on some research, and it was highlighting that the three biggest nightmares for CISOs are listed right here: phishing and malware attacks on employees and customers, brand impersonation, and informational breaches. So this is an area, whether you are regulated by some sort of HIPAA, if you're regulated by HIPAA or NIST 171, we can walk you through and help you achieve those certifications and really help you show evidence that you're achieving and meeting those requirements. So again, our philosophy here at onShore is security is a process, not a product. It's all about how we go about the monitor and maintain to regularly do those assessments. And then when we find things that are out of alignment, look at how do we implement or remediate. And that leads us into our fifth category, which is really our security management. And that gets into our panoptic defense, where we have our intrusion detection services, the monitoring with log collection and SIM tools, and then our SOC services, which gets into the analysis and overall management of network perimeter security. So with that, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'll be here for the next 10 to 15 minutes before I have to move on to my next meeting. Thank you.